We're at 9:13 in the morning, and you are tuned to Grecian Echoes here on WNTN, 1550 AM in Cambridge, Needham, and Boston. We're streaming at WNTN.com on this Monday, April 7th, 2025. It's Mondays with Meleti and your host, Meleti Pouliopoulos, here with you all morning. I'm so excited that we have two very special guests joining us today via Zoom. It is Ari Kalogeropoulos and Fotios Stamos. They're founders and directors in the AF Foundation. And we'll be talking about that and also about the AF experience, some of their history going all the way back to Greek Boston and worldwide Greeks when it first got started right around, I guess, maybe 1998 or so. We're going to ask them about all of that. But first we want to say a Kalimera and hello. I see Ari is on the line, so I'll say Kalimera, Ari.
Hello, Meleti. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Waiting on Foti, who's late as usual.
He's late as usual. Well, that's okay. I'd like to, I found something on the website that I'd like to read to everyone because it hit me last night as I was preparing for this talk, this interview with you. I found something on the AF Foundation's website and
Hmm.
under the About section. And I'd like to read that while we're waiting for Forty to come.
Sure.
Okay. It says, with over 20 plus years, wait a minute, hold on, that's not it. That's just raising, it says raising to the occasion by the AF Foundation, posted on my birthday in 2023. When is the last time you've attended church services, a Greek fundraising event, or a Greek dance? There's a good chance the answer might be not in a while. I believe this is the case for many of us. Over the last 10 years, we've begun to see a shift in the commitments and involvements of Greece in their retrospective communities. As the current generations have become more assimilated to the challenges of everyday life, we're becoming more distant to our Greek heritage and culture. Attendance levels are declining rapidly at church services, annual dances, fundraising galas, festivals, Greek schools, etc. There is a constant struggle to recruit volunteers. Fundraising initiatives are struggling to meet their goals, and events are on the decline. We are becoming less engaging with all types of initiatives that relate to our Greek culture. And that drastic decline has created enough concern that if this continues, our heritage will disappear within the next 2 generations. On that thought alone, we decided to create the AF Foundation. I'm going to save the rest of it for you folks to read yourself, and I want to welcome now Fotios. Stamos is now on the line. Kalimera, Foti.
Kalimera. Kalimera Meleti. Thank you so much for having us this morning.
It's so great. And I have to tell you, this is the first time, this is how wonderful the technology is, right? This is the first time that I realized that I can use Zoom on my laptop while I'm doing the radio show. I can do an
Amazing.
interview. It's amazing, isn't it?
Amazing.
Well, Meleti, I have to disclose something. That's not the real Foti. That's an AI-generated Foti. That's what we're doing with technology now.
Is that what it's going to be? I'm going to wake up one morning, there's going to be a hologram in my kitchen and,
Right.
say Kalimera Forti. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's probably, we're going to be there, right? I think in some form of that with the way
Oh,
that
absolutely, absolutely.
it's going
I mean,
now.
that's what the big strikes in Hollywood were about. Because now an actor doesn't literally need to be in a movie because they could just generate that actor's image and sound and everything. So yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. It's great, but it's also scary. It all depends on who the wielder of this technology is,
Well,
because
yeah.
it could go down a good path, it could go down a bad path. We don't know yet. We'll see.
We
Well, let's
just
think positive.
we have to think positive, and that's what your foundation is doing. It's thinking very positively about preserving our Greek heritage, and that's what I read in what I just wrote. And I'd like to ask you in your own words, because I know that those were your own words, but now looking back on that you wrote a couple of years ago and posted on your website, and here we are. Does it ring out still as true as ever?
100% yes.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons that, and I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure Foti will chime in and probably agree because we've discussed this so many times, but we held our Greek community and Greek upbringing from childhood in such high regard because it was something so special, something so, just amazing. When I look back, I literally get very sad that my children will probably not have the experience that I had within the Greek community growing up here, because our parents are immigrants. They got off the boat just like every immigrant story, and they came together, and the church was basically the unifying factor, but that whole culture around it and all the Greeks together and all the Greek kids together and going on vacations together and doing all these things together. And I had my non-Greek friends at school and I had my Greek friends, and it was just a special, a very unique and special kind of upbringing, and I loved it, and that's what left that mark on me to kind of progress what we had and try to keep it for these future generations. I mean, that's a tall order. That's a very difficult thing, but that's basically why I came into it and why I'm so passionate about it and why I appreciate people like you, Meleti, who are in your way, keeping everything together. And we're trying to do our way, and other organizations are doing their way. But we need everybody to do that because it's just sad to think that that kind of Greek culture and Greek essence that we had is fading. And sometimes it's inevitable, but I think that we have enough that we could still keep it going as long as people share that passion with us.
You know what you were talking about, that neighborhood that you grew up in, that neighborhood
Hmm.
feel and all of that around you. What I like about what you guys are doing is you're creating that online. You're creating that closeness. You're helping us to network within this virtual world. And I like that a lot. I really do. So you're both visionaries, I think, or going all the way back to Greek Boston. I remember when that came out, everyone that I bumped into said, "What a good idea!" Right?
It it was one of those perfect storm type of things. I was kind of getting into professionally the web stuff, and when I'd get home at night, I'm like, I want to practice like putting web pages together because the more I do, the better I'll get. And I
Yeah.
was like, what could I do on my own? And it was right at that time that I was, really into the Greek scene. And I was like, everybody's always, I remember calling Foti and other people we're all calling each other. Where's the next Greek night? What's the next Greek event? Because we're all so passionate to do that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to practice my web skills by putting Greek events online.
Wow.
And it went from Greek event listing to, a message board to, just what picture galleries. That was like the major thing. Um, and that's just how it progressed. It was where I was at that time, what I was learning at that time. It didn't exist, and I was just like, let me practice my skills for work by doing this for Greeks, and it just kind of blew up from there.
It was so great because I was there watching it as a consumer and watching and getting all excited. Oh, look, now they've got this. Oh, now this. And it was kind of neat how it all rolled out.
And
How,
if I can add, Meleti,
yeah.
to what you're mentioning, how watching it piece together. So we were also progressing as our demographics were progressing as Greek Americans. And, as R had mentioned, it was going from an event listing, adding on a message board, then becoming a full portal that had information, business listings, and then we added another important element that I think, Ari, we should speak of back then, which I think is important today, is that we included a ability to host a Greek dating site, which allowed, Greeks to connect online.
Well, yeah, I mean that how do you get the Greek community to grow and progress if you're not getting Greeks together? So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so
Right.
Melete, we were
Yeah.
responsible for a lot of marriages, if we can say that.
Yeah, I
All happy
believe it.
marriages,
I
by the
bel
way.
I believe. But Joe, you see these needs and you help to fill it. And now you're seeing a need of a fragmented community that's just not the same as it was growing up. There was a little bit more closeness, so we felt it, and there was a lot of participation. And I think you're calling out. You yourselves are setting good examples by what
Hmm.
you're doing, and I really want to go through all of that. But just in the world of innovation, when you created that Greek Boston and Worldwide Greeks, there's a lot of things that go into that. Things like editorial policy and what happens if someone posts that, Meleti is,
Oh yeah.
has three ears or something. I have no
So
idea.
if you recall, Meleti, the message board was this was the early entry for a lot of people to get into kind of the social aspect of the internet. So this message board, I mean, there were no rules. It was a wild west. It was a free for all. And as humans tend to do, it, when there's a free for all, it started to get kind of crazy, kind of toxic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
People talking about each other, people bashing each other. So, in a perfect world, I always envisioned creating these things and everybody happy and everything great and everything just amazing. But as we know how the internet is today, when you're anonymous behind a computer screen, you tend to get a little crazy. So having that editorial, having to remove things, getting complaints constantly. I mean, even the picture galleries, like I'm way in the background of that picture and I'm holding a cigarette and my parents don't know I smoke. Can you remove that? Yes, of course.
See, stuff like
It,
that,
yeah,
right?
it was
Yeah.
just a nonstop. And like a Sunday school teacher will be in like a low cut shirt at the club and she's like, I can't let my students see this. And I was like, all right, we'll take it out. So it was just a constant barrage of moderation because again, it was free. Like there weren't many of these things before we
Free
started
social
doing
media.
it. Right,
Yeah, you
right.
you were on the
And
bleeding edge.
and you know what's funny? We started certain parts of the site where you could put your name and your photo. And this is pre-social media, remember. Now it's standard.
Yeah.
But when we first started doing it, we would get complaints. You want me to use my real name on the internet? You want me to post my picture on the internet? Are you crazy? I was like, not crazy. I just thought it was cool. But it might have been a little bit before its time.
It was, because now look, everyone's out for a selfie, right? I
Exactly.
still don't
Yeah.
know how to do that, by the way. We were practicing the other day in the studio. I'm not good with it.
Yeah, you'll survive without it, trust me.
Yeah. But how did you two meet? That's what I never really found out. You went to separate schools, but you were in
Yeah,
separate
yeah, yeah.
neighborhoods? How did you
So,
guys?
Foti, I'll,
Yeah.
I'll let you answer
So
that.
so R and I are the same age, shocker, and we went to school during the same times. I was at BC, Ari was at BU, and we had similar circles of friends that overlapped, and we would find ourselves constantly hanging out in the same groups. And we from that point, we became tighter as buddies. And I was as Ari was diving into the tech world, I was doing my PR thing back then, hosting events, Greek events,
Yeah.
whether they be at the nightclubs, whether they be at cultural centers, whether they be, educational. So we combined forces where we had the ability to collectively, where I could put events together, Ari could host them online, and we could market them together. And that kind of opened the doors to our working relationship that we find ourselves here today, still after 25
Mm.
25
Don't
years
don't
later.
date us, Foti.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the launching of what Greek Boston was in 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1998, just remind the audience of what were the clubs that were around
Oh,
that you may
jeez.
have gone to in those
Well,
years?
it's interesting you say that because we reflect always and look back. And believe it or not, Meleti, back then there was a Greek night almost hosted from, say, Wednesday to Sunday at various different nightclubs.
Yeah, there was
And,
always something going on.
there's a handful of familiar names and faces that were part of that scene. And back then we had, the Roxy, we had Caprice, thanks to Mr. Manos, we give him a shout out. Uh, we had Il Panino where we hosted our Greek events, which was in the financial district.
Aria.
There was
El Panino
there was
was that on Franklin Street? Do
Franklin
you?
Street.
Oh,
It was a
upstairs.
multi-level building that
Yes,
we
yes.
hosted Greek nights.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you guys were
Um,
behind that
that was a great
in
time.
those years. You
We
were
were
behind
behind
it.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. Yeah.
We gave it a shot. You know, we went to this is classic. We went to an Italian-owned establishment and convinced them to allow us to host a Greek night, and it
It
worked.
was the
It
best thing he
did.
did, I think.
It had
We
a
we
nice
even brought we even brought Fox 25 News to one of those Greek nights because they were doing a story on us
We
back
should share
then,
that
and
clip at
everybody
some
was
point.
like, "Wow, look at these guys!"
Are you
You know,
serious? Do you have
yeah,
that?
that
Do you have that
that was like,
footage?
yeah, we have the footage. They
Oh,
We'll share that
it
with
was
you. We'll share that with you.
I've
it
got
was
to see
during
it. Yeah.
it was during that hype of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which we
Well,
also premiered. We premiered that movie before it went into wide release.
Is that right?
Yeah, so there was a big hype around that. So then Fox 25, Foti had a connection over there, and he's like, "Let's do a story on you guys." And we are like, "Sure, why not?" And we brought them to Panino, we brought them to restaurants, we brought them all over the place.
Did you have a screening? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, in Boston Common. What's the theater? I don't know what it
well, it's
was back
AMC
then.
theaters now.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so
low back then.
Yeah.
Nia Vardalos came, John Corbett came.
No
We did the
kidding.
screening. They came out to speak after. We have video of all this stuff, which you need to archive, Meleti,
Yes,
please.
I'd love to. You know, it's just great. You know, you guys have done so much. Yeah.
And
But
you know, Meleti, outside of the nightclub and the Greek nights, I want to mention that beyond the weekly nightclub Greek nights that were hosted by us, a bigger part of it was the actual holiday events that were hosted on the long weekends and on Thanksgiving and on Christmas,
Mm.
where back then we
Easter
would bring,
too.
over 1,000 young individuals to come enjoy themselves at a Greek night. That was pretty special to see a room full of young Greek Americans together in the Boston market
Mm.
and beyond. That today obviously is extremely challenging to fill a room today, but you know, those were like some special moments that we had as Greek Americans. I remember non-Greeks that were in the entertainment industry couldn't believe as the only ethnic group of the time that still had consistent events going on in the city of Boston and filling rooms up that other cultures couldn't do.
yeah. I mean, that's it's amazing, and I think a lot of people say that about us. Look at you, you have your festivals, you have your dances, you love your music, and you love your church. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure what the attrition rates are in other religions or what the attendance rates are, but I know that we're all trying to hang it all together for the next generations. It's not just one thing or another. It's not just cultural. It's not just religion. It's not just a club scene. It's not just a lecture. But you're providing things now, and you're enabling other nonprofits to get on their feet in a time where fundraising is very hard. Um,
Yeah.
We know that,
you
right?
know, it's
Very challenging, even though you would think that it'd be easier with the resources and technology, but it's still a constant challenge.
yeah. So, do you have, where do your ideas come from in terms of, or do people come to you, or is it a combination?
Hmm. I mean, we know what we want to do. We know the kind of environment we want to be in. And I think that kind of extends out to other people where we could either approach them when we see that they're doing something and, hey, we could help you with that. Or they see what we're doing. They're like, can you help us with that? So I think it's kind of like a mutual
Yeah, there's a
kind of thing.
combination.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we learn along the way, Meleti, that ideas come to us as we are in the moment of something that is either challenging or there's a setback, and we try to find a solution for it. And thanks to, again, I'll keep diverting back to the fact that the world that we live in, technology, is allowing us to become better problem solvers.
Yes, that's true. That's true. It's if you can apply the technology and,
Well, look, you need a web presence. You need to have some sort of social media outreach. You need to be able to sell tickets. You need to be able to collect money. You need to be able to hold like a virtual raffle. You need to be able to do all these things, and that's why we're like, hey, we can build that.
yeah,
Let's build that and try to, apply it to where it needs to be applied and help other organizations and people along the way. And it's great. Once people know, it's just so great because now we're starting to kind of spread out of the Boston market as well. We're doing stuff in New York. We're doing stuff in DC. So it's something that's needed, and it's not so much that it's a business that we want to just grow. It's something that we're passionate about. If we could apply what we know and our experiences and our skill set to do that, so be it. And that's kind of how we lead our lives. It's 100% not about money. And I think Fati, you could back me up on that one.
Well,
It's
our wives can back us up on that one. Believe me.
like you still doing that stuff, but it's passion. And if we could
Well,
help the Greek culture along the way, the Greek culture that gave us everything. I mean, it literally gave us everything. I am who I am because of the Greek culture and the unique Greek American culture that I grew up in. That's who I am, and I owe it a lot. And if we could help that, so be it. If we could make money along the way, that would be great. But everybody here knows, Meleti, Foti, we all know how hard it is to make money off of this type of thing.
Yeah.
So you can't get into it to make money. You get into it because you want to be in it. You get into it because that's your passion. And everything else, if you could do it, it's a bonus.
We used to say, what goes around comes around. And if you're a good person, what you put out in the world will come back to you. And I always thought that the Greek community has plenty of money. It has beautiful heritage. We all like each other. When we go to each other, we go to churches together. We go to festivals together. We can get into a dance together. Why not do that dance? Why not support each other?
Right.
And I wonder if maybe you'd have some sort of directory online at some point where people can find each other for services.
Mhm.
I desperately need someone. I need a tailor. I've lost all this weight and none of my clothes fit. It's
Right,
embarrassing.
yeah.
I look
Yeah. I
like,
mean, we had that when we were doing Greek Boston. Now it's not one of those things that we feel that the community evolved to a point where we're kind of assimilated into American culture. So there's certain things that Greeks still stick to, but we feel that there's other stuff that's not as important, like finding a Greek tailor or finding a Greek mechanic isn't as important now as it was then.
yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of our thought process behind not having directories anymore and not doing the exact same things we did 25 years ago are not exactly what we're doing, but we're trying to feed the need, and we feel like certain things, just the natural progression of a Greek culture here in America is going to have people kind of assimilating into their environment. And, they're going to go to the local mechanic, not specifically the Greek mechanic. They're going to go to, and I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
They're gonna find people who are good that they know that are a good price. It's not necessarily the Greek guy like it used to be. It used to be like we have to find a Greek to do this. I don't see that so much anymore, but
Yeah. We're in an information age, and a lot of this is a Google search away.
Right. But also, the my parents came here from Greece, so they just stuck to everything Greek because that's all they knew, and they barely spoke English. But now, my generation and the younger ones, they're not like required to stick together because we speak the language, we know people, we went to school, we got out there, so we're like, oh yeah, I know a mechanic, he's pretty cheap, he's Italian or Portuguese or whatever. Like it's not about sticking to the Greek in those respects.
Right.
But when it comes to going out, it comes to church, it comes to culture, stuff like that, I still think we have that need to get together. It's
Mm.
just certain aspects have
Well, I
kind of
think Ari, maybe like how we've evolved as Greeks in the U.S., where small business owners now we become professionals, where there are now Greek attorneys and Greek positions, and Greeks that are in the service space, photographers, videographers, where we're finding ourselves, leaning on getting services from Greek Americans in that respects.
Well, I was just looking at your site, the AF Foundation. I think it was off that site. Every time I see Greek products, right, I'm going to click and see what are they selling. And so that's it. And it said Greekazon or something, which I thought was pretty funny as like a play on Amazon.
Yep.
But just to show you the possibilities, right? And it's
Yeah, I mean, we do so many things. It's like when we do an event, we're like, we could throw this event for you. We could supply you with what you need for the event. But it goes so far beyond that. We're like, we could be your ticket box office. We have Greek box office.
Yeah.
We could be your music provider. We have Greek AF Media. We could be, we could have some products. We have Greekazon. Like we do so many things that are Greek centric, where we're like a one-stop shop, which hopefully could help other organizations with their needs. It always comes back to that.
So was it yesterday? 2 days ago, I was at the symposium at the Meletios Center on human trafficking, and I remember GreekBoxOffice.com as being, and you had set up a site to where the tickets could be processed,
Right.
and so you'll do that for events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't charge fees. You cannot process a credit card without charging fees, and we do it fee free for most parts. If they need it, and that's what it comes to, we will still do it, even with we'll take the fee hit.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to talk about how we met because we met recently, and I was away from Boston for a lot of years. I don't know if you know that, but I had gone out overseas and was living in New York and stuff, and then I came back, and 25 years had gone by, and so now I get to see the people and meet the people who created GreekBoston.com, which I experienced on the road when I was away. But I want to talk about the presentation. Well, I gave a presentation at the Alpha Omega meeting, and it was on Greek American heritage because so much of our focus has been in classical Greece, and I think we got that covered. I really do. But so I presented a different thinking, a thinking that says now people these days need their Greek American heritage, and I think you guys both agreed. But I wanted to say, Foti, you were sitting in that room that evening, and what was it like for you? And also, if I asked for feedback from the Alpha Omega Council to see what other people were actually thinking, because I know it's different than what you would normally see, or maybe what you expected to see. I don't know.
Well, I was taken away by the fact that you presented so much interesting information about our history as Greek Americans and how far back it dated, and how that we had so much Greek media or publications that dated almost 100 years ago. And as a Greek American, being in the New England market for most of my life and being subject to the Hellenic Chronicle or Ethniko Kirika, those are the two publications. It went beyond that, and I was just fascinated. I'm like, wow. I was like, I had no idea. I go, we need to know about this. And a light bulb went in my head as I was listening to you at the presentation while sitting at the same table with you at Alpha Omega's meeting. And I said, we got to get this word out. I'm like, more of us need to know about this. And, I think one of the key points you hit on was you were mentioning the statistics on the Greek parade in Boston and how far back it dated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, like I called Ari immediately that night. I'm like, we got to get Meleti on our podcast. We need to speak to him. And it started from there.
Well, I appreciate it a lot because that interview was wonderful. I got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people called and said that they heard me on your podcast.
Yeah, and
And
I mean, what you represent is really the meat in that sandwich. It's like we could put stuff together, but it's the people that make it. And your what you do, Meleti, is so extremely important. We said this on the podcast. We say it every time we see you. If you get sick of it, just let me know. But what you're doing is so important, especially for a tech guy like me. So much content gets pumped out, and I'm like, is it going to disappear and be lost forever? Is it going to be saved somewhere? I mean, you're doing what is so. The government does archives, the different aspects do these different things, but nobody's doing that for Greek Americans, and you are doing that. So it's extremely important that we support you and everything that you do because it's such an important thing for our culture.
thank you. It's your partnership now that's making me more visible in the virtual space, and
Right.
through your networks. It was on that podcast that you said, "Well, let's do a fundraiser for you," and we'll do a fundraiser, and we'll set up the page, and we'll be able to sell tickets, and we'll have a program online, and since I followed up on it. I said,
Oh,
are you
absolutely,
guys
yeah, and as
serious? And
well.
they're like,
See
sure.
that's something that we appreciate. We talk to a lot of people about a lot of things, but the people who follow up on it are what we appreciate because we love execution. Everybody talks, ideas are thrown around all the time, but to execute the idea is that's everything. I mean, if you don't execute, I could have the idea for Facebook. If I don't execute, it goes nowhere. But somebody who executed the idea is, who he is. But I'm saying like that execution is key.
It's key, and sometimes you need funding and you need backing
A
to
hundred
get
percent.
get your thing off the ground, or you just need someone in the room to say, you know something, you might have something there. It was years ago that my cousin, who was on the road a lot, had the idea of doing drive-through coffee,
Huh?
and said, "I bet you this is going to take off." And we're all like, "Nah." I came from the technology world. I got to tell you one more story because I'm sort of embarrassed about it now. But when I was in New York and I was high up on the corporate thing in the technology world, and someone came into my office and they said, "Hey, I got an idea for an app that you press it and it will listen and be able to tell you what the song is."
Ha ha ha.
Shazam, right?
Shazam,
And
Soundhound.
I said to him, I said, it's kind of nice, it's kind of niche, but who's going to use it? And now, look, everyone and their mother is
Oh
using
yeah.
that program.
Oh my God.
And so sometimes I think that I just wanted to say thank you for the work that we're doing in this fundraiser, of raising the glass to Greek American heritage. And I hope that somehow we can use the technology to reach the next generation. And that's my latest intern. I'd love for her to meet you guys. She's just incredible. And we're going to have her and some of the other people, the young people who have come in over the years, and have them speak up for it. Someone's got
Well,
to.
what you're saying is 100%. We need to listen to the younger generations because I'll tell you right now, I can build web stuff, app stuff. I can do a lot of things, but if I can't get into the mind of a younger person, how could I reach them? And I can't like, I got to an age where I don't think the way younger people do, but I need to. Like I need that feedback. I need to understand, and then we could do great things.
Yeah, absolutely. You need that, right? It's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
usability study. What do you think?
Yeah, the problem is a lot of people are like, I know what to do. No, you have to listen. You have to learn. If you stop learning, then you're not going to do anything. Hey, we're always learning,
We
and that's what I believe in. I believe every single day I need to learn something.
If you're just tuning in, our guest this morning is Ari Kalogeropoulos, who's just speaking, Fotios Stamos. They're from the AF Foundation. You can visit that website at theaffoundation.org. They also are co-founders in the AF Experience, a small tech company creating online communities for real-world experiences. And we've been talking about the fundraising aspect of the AF Foundation and that vision of uniting the community in the virtual world and also saving our heritage at the same time. And they have done wonderful fundraisers. I'd like to see what you guys have planned because it's sometimes not what you announce, but what you don't announce that we have to get to. So with this whole Greek Independence Day parade coming up, how are we going to make that exciting? Do you folks have anything planned for that? I'm curious.
Well, in the past, we've always been the guys taking all the pictures and videos and posting them the next day. That's become almost a tradition.
Yeah.
But again, once we sold the company and started our other stuff, we kind of stopped doing that. So now for the future, Foti, what do you
Yeah,
think?
we're gonna definitely post information on our all of our socials and our platforms about the parade. I'll be marching the parade on behalf of Alpha Omega and take and
Oh,
kind of double
really?
down on the exposure.
Okay, yeah. The Alpha Omega guys are marching with a banner. I mean,
Yes.
oh, that's
Yes.
good. That's really good.
One thing that we're also doing as the Air Foundation, we should mention, and a very key upcoming event is Ari and I are going to be part of the Boston Marathon wreath ceremony, that we're going to be participating in some of the actual content that's going to be created for it post event,
Great.
which is a wonderful event that most of us probably haven't heard about, that should know that this is an actual thing that happens in Boston, where the wreaths are coming over from Greece for Marathon. They get dipped in gold and then they're brought here
Wow.
to crown the winners of the Boston Marathon. That's a big deal that we should also mention in our travels of information.
Yeah.
It's amazing event, and the history behind it is just amazing. I'm Greek. I grew up in Boston. I thought I knew everything, but when I heard the history of the Boston Marathon with Greece and Greeks, I was blown away, and instantly I was like, I want to be part of
Yeah.
whatever they're doing, whatever it is.
That is so great. Yeah, it is. It's great tradition. And I just got an email the other day from Peter Sinopoulos, and his great uncle had started, George Demeter, as you know, has started the wreath ceremony here in Boston.
Mm,
And just a remarkable figure. You know, we look back at so many of these historic figures just in recent times, right? That
mm.
was, 100 years ago that George was around, but he did so much. The people in that generation did so much to build the institutions and the churches and the halls and the programs and all of that was there. And we have to remember to not to lose that history as we want to relay it, but protecting those artifacts is so important. I know you guys know that.
Yes, we know that, and again, we're gonna say, Meleti, keep doing what you're doing. And this
Thank you.
fundraiser that's coming up for you is very important for people to support. I mean, if you physically can't get there, we have donation pages set up. It's something we need to do as a group, as a community. Times are a little crazy right now, and nobody knows exactly what the future holds. But what we do know is that these are the types of things that we need to support, because if we don't support, they go away. And if they go away, I guarantee you, every single person will be like, "Oh, how did that happen? Why did it go away?" Because a lot of people take it for granted. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work that requires a lot of money in the background that needs support.
Yeah.
And Meleti is a prime example of that, doing very important work that if it went away, we'd all be like, "Hey, what happened?" But you know what? It's here. He's doing it. And if we don't support it, I don't want that timeline. I want the timeline where you have all the funding you need, and you archive every single piece of Greek American history that you can, and my kids can, see pictures of me young at the club dancing around and having a good time and saying, "Hey, I want to do that too."
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the joy. People say to me, "What's the best part of your job?" The best part of my job is when I see young people taking in this culture. Because, I think they realized something was there, but it hadn't been relayed to them. And if
Right.
we lose those artifacts, what you had mentioned, the newspaper. If we lost the Hellenic Chronicle, we've lost several on my watch. I can't keep up with everything, but we could keep up with a lot more if people were engaged.
Mhm.
So here's my campaign for all of this, and I think you guys spelled it out in that paragraph, a couple paragraphs that I've read, and you're doing it, you're living it. By the way, one of our callers just texted me and said that they're very impressed with the work that you're doing. Said they
Oh,
wanted to
good.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
I thought the calls were going to come in to be like, get these guys off.
Do you
They're
know
nuts.
now? We had that. I had that one time. I had someone say, "Will you put the music back on?" I get
Well,
it. I
after
get
after
it.
listening to my voice for a short time, I'm sure they're going to be calling in to be like, "All right, shut that guy up."
Yeah, our listeners will let us know. I know they will, one way or the other. But yeah, it's connecting. It's trying to get the people engaged, turning the spectators into participants. How do we get people? You were saying, how do we get people to go back to church, to go to the events, to go to? Well, one of the ways is to inform them and to show, that it's still here and what you grew up with is still available, and we can still continue that. And isn't that what it's about?
Right.
Well said.
Exactly. And we need young people to be as passionate as we were, but it's harder for young people to be as passionate as we were because they didn't live what we lived.
Right.
So, but with knowledge, with them being informed on how things could be, maybe these younger people could become like ambassadors the way we were, quote unquote ambassadors to the Greek culture. We need these people, the younger generations, the older generations. They've lived it and they're doing stuff to try to preserve it, like us and you, Meleti. The younger generations need to be passionate about it so they could bring their social networks and their friends and communities into the fold. And it's very difficult. It's not easy. How do you get people to be passionate about something? You inform them, you show them, you talk about it, but without preaching, without saying you need to do this. When my mom was like, you have to go to church, you have to go to church, I was like, now I'm like, man, I wish I could go back to those times and on my own love going and understand how cool it was and how much fun I had. In the moment it's hard to see these things, but in hindsight you're like, oh my God, I should have. We need to get younger people to understand they're in the moment and they could have a greater moment if they embrace their culture and they represent it, and they have events to go to, and they have an archive to look at, and they have music to listen to, all this stuff.
Exactly.
It's all one big package.
It
And we need
is.
to, yeah.
It's and you're calling for unity is what you're
Right.
calling for, and the more people that call for that unity, it will happen. But if we teach our kids, you got to be better than them, or our church is better than theirs, or
No,
our festival is better than theirs, then
doesn't work
it
that way.
doesn't work that way. Then
That's divisive.
that is divisive.
We have enough divisiveness in these days, and I think the unity is what is needed.
Yeah, beautiful. What a beautiful way to end this. We're coming up to the top of the hour. I want to thank you both so much for everything that you're doing. And the best way to get a hold of you, well, there's contact information that's posted on the affoundation.org website.
Yeah.
I would invite you to go there, spend some time, bop around, get out to AF Media. You'll find your way there. And there's a lot of neat little things going on in different places. And participate, join in,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And
And Meleti, your new website is coming soon, and we need to actually meet offline so we could get that squared away and up and bring you into the modern times too.
Thank you. I'm moved because I know how busy you are, how many balls you have up in the air. And so for you to bring that up right and now on this live call, I'm going to take you up on it.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
But when we get over the hump, right?
It's important. It's
Yeah.
important. There's never so much work that the important things get put aside. Unimportant things can be put aside, yes, but important things, we have to make time for it. We have to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ari, thank you for joining, and Foti, thank you.
Our pleasure.
It was really great.
Our
Thank you,
pleasure.
Meleti. We appreciate you.
And if I can just add one more comment, Meleti,
Please.
to the listening audience who hopefully enjoyed this episode. If anybody represents an organization, sits on the board, or wants to help their church, their society, whatever chapter they're involved, that to reach out to us, and we'll definitely help put something together like we do for everybody.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Excellent. Thank you. Our
Thank
gu-
you, Meleti.
Thank you. Our guest this morning was, here we go, yeah. We had just had the co-founders of the AF Foundation, Ari Kalogeropoulos and Fotios Stamos, remarkable people in our community doing very good things, and so happy. You're tuned to Mondays with Meleti and your host, Meleti Pouliopoulos.